Hello and welcome to Buy Africa, the show where we focus on investment opportunities around the continent. I'm Tsepo Modiba, and thanks for joining me. Tonight, I'm joined by Jonathan Kruger, Director and Portfolio Manager at Africa Merchant Capital Management. Jonathan, thank you for joining us.
Tsepo, it's great to be on the show. Thank you for having us.
Discussing my favorite thing, African markets. Where are you in terms of your view of markets in general across the continent? Are you seeing opportunities? Are you a little bit risk averse? Where in that scale are you sitting?
Tsepo, it's an interesting one. I think people tend to use Africa as a broad brush terminology, and you have to look at Africa as individual countries and assess in each country where the opportunities are.
Yeah.
So we've had some positive developments this year which have been very encouraging. And I'd like to point to Nigeria, for example. There's been a long period now of foreign exchange restrictions. Investors, importers, exporters have been battling to get money in and out of the country. But more recently, from an investor perspective, the central bank has opened up an importers and exporters window, which has enabled portfolio managers such as us to move money in and out at a rate of around 3.8 Naira to the dollar, where the official exchange rate has been pegged at 3.15, which has been not tradable. So that's Nigeria. It's been very encouraging. Yeah.
I guess before we delve into the rest of the discussion on Nigeria, does that mean then, from your assessment of the country as an investment destination, it's become a lot more attractive than it would have been maybe 12 months ago?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's not only the foreign exchange liberalization that has improved the investment case. I think if you think of a company like Seplat Petroleum, they are highly dependent on the Trans-Forcados pipeline to export oil from the country. And that has been offline for a very long time now due to militant action in the Delta. But more recently, they've brought the pipeline back on stream, oil is flowing, and from a Nigerian macro perspective, it's about generating foreign exchange, and foreign exchange is the oil of the economy, if I can put it that way. That market needs to function. There needs to be dollars coming into the country to buy things such as capital equipment, which is key to the industrial sector and just keeping the economy going.
Okay, before delving into individual regions or companies, let's take a step back. What informs what drives a good decision? How to decide, one company over the other, or one country over the other in your mind on the continent?
So Tsepo, we are primarily bottom-up managers in this space, and what that means is that we analyze stocks on an individual basis. Look at their merits, look at the opportunities, the risks, obviously going through the financials, evaluating the qualitative aspects of a company. And I think what's important for us is that we have a private equity side to our business in addition to the investment management. So we often put on our private equity hats and say, look, a lot of these companies that are listed function like private equity. They just happen to be listed on the exchanges. So in terms of the analysis rigor, we go through, we also leverage off our networks from the broader business that we get from, say, our corporate finance advisory. So we're not just speaking to management of a company to get their insights. Obviously, they're going to tell you a good story, but we use sector knowledge, what else is going on in the industry, and other third parties to verify what management are saying. And that's how we build the investment case from there. And then it's a function of valuation. What are you paying for this business? And we are value managers, so we look for value, and we'll only buy stocks where there's a discount to the fair value. And I think that's important from an African perspective, especially because if your investment view doesn't work out, there is a margin of safety, and we need that.
Sure. The private equity point that you made is quite pertinent, given perhaps a lot of African listed businesses probably fall into that mid and small cap space, where it might be actually quite difficult to get in and out. Would you agree with that, and would you say that that's an important then consideration if you're looking at maybe slightly less liquid businesses?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you've got to adapt your approach a bit when you're going into that mid and small cap space. So we've been over some of the analysis aspects, the private equity thinking, but from an investability perspective, the stocks are less liquid. So you need to be more patient, and that's entering and exiting stocks. So what we do is that in terms of the fund that we manage, we have a notice period on the fund of 90 days.
Right.
And in the event that we do need to exit a stock, it gives us time, and we can go and search through for those blocks of stock. And speaking of blocks of stock, relationships are key in these markets. It's not like the JSE where you can just trade electronically and pick up stock that way. It's about building solid relationships with brokers, knowing people in the market, knowing where to search for blocks, and understanding the dynamics of that block trading market.
Okay. You touched on your assessment as from a bottom-up picture. What's that overall bottom-up picture telling you? Are there any particular regions or pockets of value that you're seeing across the continent?
Yeah, so what we've seen is there's been fairly good value across the board, but in terms of capturing growth opportunities, we've really looked for some niche sectors to see what companies are performing well in this market environment.
Operationally?
Yeah, operationally as well as profitability.
Right.
So there are some solid companies that are smaller than some of the larger banks, the larger cement players, breweries, for example. And what springs to mind is the insurance industry. It's a very underpenetrated market.
It is.
I think new kind of improved thinking, technology is coming through in this space. The regulations are improving. So what we've seen in Africa, if you can identify a solid insurer that's generating positive underwriting margins, and what I mean by that is it's profitable from an insurance perspective, you're comfortable with the risks, I think there's great opportunities there, and that's certainly an area we've been exposed to.
Is that really a function, you touched on the penetration, is there anything that's going to drive an increase in penetration for insurance on the continent?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things is education. I think it's a relatively new market and relatively unknown products on the continent. But I think as that African consumer evolves, as they purchase more discretionary items such as cars, build apartments, insurance is a natural product that follows on from that. So yes, this market is set to grow, and I think it's merely converting those consumers that are already purchasing these goods into understanding the benefits of managing the risk.
Could I tempt you into telling us a particular company within the sector that looks interesting?
Yeah, I think for the last while we've been managing the fund, we identified a company. I've spoken about it many times before. It's called Custodian and Allied Insurance.
Yep.
It's a Nigerian insurer with a long track record of profitability, very stable management, sound balance sheet, and yeah, we've certainly found an opportunity there. And it's important that you don't overpay for such a company, and we've seen it trading at a price to book of below 1. So you buying all those assets sitting on the balance sheet below net asset value, and we found that very attractive.
What type of insurance are you looking at here? Is it short-term insurance or more on the life side?
Yeah, so it's both. I think traditionally they've come from the life side, and they've expanded into the non-life through an acquisition. And generally we see that the life business is much a longer term business, whereas the non-life business, the general insurance, the motor insurance business, short-term business, and a lot of opportunity to grow in that. in that space.
In terms of, I guess, competition within Nigeria in particular, is that something that's a concern? Are you likely to see I guess, pressure when it comes to premiums?
Yeah, I think what's important is managing the risk or pricing the risk in actuarial terms.
Right.
So yes, there are competitive pressures in the market, but your actuarial department has to be very strong and not be tempted to underwrite bad risks.
Yeah.
So you could sacrifice some growth there, but we see the market as big enough, and ultimately the consumer is going to look for insurers that pay. And some of the insurers, sure, the premiums might be very low, but there's a question in the consumer's mind, are they going to pay those claims?
Yes.
So yes, there's competition, but there's not necessarily as much competition on the top tier side of things.
Okay. I'm moving away from financial services, hopefully.
Yeah.
Is there any other sectors that are, from a bottom-up perspective, looking interesting right now?
Yeah, so what we see is that sometimes you can buy into companies, like an investment holding company, that gives you broad exposure to different sectors.
Right.
For example, the infrastructure space, property development. So we've identified a company in Kenya where we're getting exposure to these assets. Sure, it's an investment holding company, possibly falls into financials, but as a bottom-up investor, you need to go through each one of those portfolio companies and understand the exposures there. So that's a way we've been able to access infrastructure, for example, which is a growing space on the continent, but is relatively inaccessible from a listed equity perspective.
All right, perfect. Let's leave it there. Thanks to my guest, Jonathan Kruger, Director and Portfolio Manager at Africa Merchant Capital Management. That's all from Buy Africa this week. Remember to follow me on Twitter, that's @Mudiba_Tsepo, and send us your thoughts about the show using the hashtag BuyAfrica. For myself and the team, goodbye.